Welcome. This is Glasgow Rangers Nation. I'm Owen James, and this is all your latest Rangers news, guys. As we come into the final weekend of real football before yet another boring international break, when players go off to represent their countries in a meaningless competition again. More boredom yet again. We're going to look obviously at a few things. The fallout from Thursday night continues. Some of that fallout may obviously be picked up on Sunday as to what Clement's team selection will be. Will any players be rotated out? Will any players be dropped? Will any players be moved out after their performances on Thursday night? Will James Tavernier play and start after being hooked in the 61st minute for what was widely regarded by many people who know the game of football as being one of the worst performances they've seen from the Rangers captain? Although I have read from some Rangers fans online a firm defence of James Tavernier, saying that he was not the worst player in defence and that Suter, Proper, Hiefte, everybody was worse than him. I think even Jack Butland was worse than him in their estimations. And there's nothing wrong. James did nothing wrong, and it's just unfair. It's just toxicity, and everyone being toxic towards poor James. And he's just been picked on. And it's almost sickening. Almost reflects a kind of, sycophantic loyalty to him and a cult-like status of a sort of Jim Jones style, David Koresh style cult towards James Tavernier, where he's become bigger than the club in the eyes of some fans. I think that really, has genuinely become the case. We'll look at that here. The other thing, of course, is the fallout from the Jack Butland interview. Jack Butland was interviewed post-match, and we said some really interesting things at the time, which I think kind of got a little bit lost in the furore and the anger post-game. The kind of look back on the goals that we conceded, the whole Tav story, the Dessa story, the defeat, the questioning of the manager. It all got lost a little bit in there, I think, and it's only now, sort of in the cold light of day, as things have started to calm down, as the sand has started to sort of settle, that people have started to look at what Jack Butland actually said and maybe read a little bit too much into it. Maybe not. I don't know. It's one of those statements and one of those quotes that you come out with, and I think gets people thinking. And I think that may be what Jack has done it for. He's kind of shielded it in semantics and shielded it in what he said to try and put a point across that, it's kind of been alluded to by a number of different people in the know, a number of people who know people inside the Rangers players camp. There's been a lot of rumours, hasn't there, in regards to Philippe Clement and the players. Some people saying that the players don't like him. Some people saying that the players regard him as one of the worst coaches they've worked with. People calling him a really bad football coach. These are all statements that have come out of the club and out of those in the know figures, or supposed in the know figures. People who know people who play for the club, or know people who are married to people who play for the club, etc., who've said these things behind closed doors, and they've kind of leaked out a little bit. It's all supposition. It's all, could be an absolute load of rubbish. And I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying what I've heard and what I'm reporting, what has been said by people. But let's look at this Jack Butland interview. Now, obviously, it was a pathetic performance by Rangers on Thursday night, and Jack spoke to the media after the game. And I think Jack was quite rightly very angry post-game. Jack did nothing wrong. Him and Nadim Barami, possibly Hiefte, possibly the only players that kind of emerged with any sort of credit from the game, with any sort of pass marks. I thought Nadim Barami was absolutely outstanding, looked a class above. And as I put out on X the other day, I wouldn't be surprised if Barami sat there thinking, what the hell have I come to? What on earth is going on at this club after that performance on Thursday night? By that same token, I think that Hiefte was good going forward. I've read some criticism of him as well. Sometimes I do despair with some people. And also, obviously, Jack Butland, who, even though he conceded 4 goals, I think if it hadn't been for him, this could have been double figures. It really could. He was that good in goal. Now, what did Jack have to say? Let's remind ourselves of those quotes. Now, obviously, I won't be playing the interview because due to copyright rules, I can't. If I do, I could get taken down. This is what he said. They've got some serious individual quality, obviously speaking about Lyon. The disappointment for us is that we gave them too many easy opportunities for them to showcase that. It's one of those you wish you could do over again, because I think we'd have, you hate to say it, but I think there's a different approach that we needed, or there wasn't enough quite from us in those moments to cut out the attack, make a foul, stop them getting in their stride. This is the first part of the quote, and there is an awful lot of interesting things to kind of draw out of what Jack says in this quote. First of all, He says that obviously the Rangers allowed Leon, too many opportunities to showcase their talent, too many opportunities to kind of, show themselves up to be a decent side. They gave them opportunities to impress. They gave them opportunities to play. They kind of allowed them to play through them to some extent, stood off them, admired them a little bit, ball watched, all things that Rangers were guilty of. And Jack's right in that aspect. Now, it's interesting to say that he says this is the bit that kind of gives me I don't know, I kind of have a hint that he's digging at somebody else other than the players here. That he's digging at perhaps the coaching staff, or he's digging at the manager here, because he could have gone on and said this, for example. It's one of those things you wish you could do it over again, because I think, if we tried different things, we could have, cut out and phrase it in a slightly different way to kind of keep the blame on what is on the pitch. But he kind of, in a way, shifts the blame and kind of puts it on someone else. I think the manager and the coaches here for not taking the right tactical approach, not taking the right shape approach, not taking the right, taking the right way to play coming into this game. I mean, he says, you hate to say it, but I think there's a different approach that we needed. And I think that is very telling, that he's kind of saying that, yes, it could be the players maybe needed a different approach, and the players maybe needed a different attitude, a different way of playing, a different effort. But by the same token, is this kind of getting at the manager and saying that, look, what we're doing isn't working, the way we're playing and the way we're being asked to play isn't working. The shape and the formation you're asking us to use doesn't suit the players we've got. The shape of the formation you're asking us to use and trying to use doesn't fit, and it doesn't actually work with these players. It doesn't work against these better teams. I may be reading too much into this, but I'm kind of trying to look at this as someone, like I said, who's coached, someone who's scouted, someone who's, spoken to players. Looking at what Jack is saying, I think there is a frustration there amongst the players that perhaps what Clement is getting them to do and asking them to do is something that doesn't, they feel, work, and they don't particularly see as being a successful approach to take. Butland went on to say this. He says, the disappointment is the fact we gave them some easy opportunities to showcase some serious individual talent. In that sense, it looks like on that is worse than it is, but we probably caused our own issues. So it's clear to say that Jack is kind of putting the blame on Rangers, and not just on the players, but on everybody, the management, the coaches, everybody. Now, look, I think Jack has got a point. I genuinely do. When Jack talks about needing a different approach, when he talks about needing a different way of doing things, I think he's right. I look at Philippe Clement as a manager, and I've been away and I've read some of the stuff that Monaco fans have written about him. I've spoken to a couple of Monaco fans, and there is a kind of, I don't know, similarity between what is happening at this moment in time and what happened at Monaco. Clement appears to be a very stubborn manager, someone who, likes his way of doing things, has a very set way of doing things, and will not be deferred from that way of doing things. Now, if that approach you're taking is as effective as, let's say, Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp, Mikel Arteta, someone like that who takes a very clear approach to things, and it works, then fine, fair enough, keep taking it, keep doing it. But I don't think it's unreasonable to state that what Clement is doing isn't always working. Yes, it's working perhaps against those not so good teams in the SPL. It didn't particularly work against Hibs last Sunday, but it doesn't work against the better teams. The teams even like Celtic, which I hate to say are currently better than us. He has a very stubborn approach to formations as well. He seems unwilling, to adjust the formation, adjust the shape to suit who we're playing, or to kind of try and cut things out. I mean, one of the great things about Sir Walter was the fact that he would, change his shape in Europe, from domestically. He changed his shape when he was playing certain teams to suit them and to combat the threats they had. He was very tactically flexible. I watch Philippe Clement and I see a tactical inflexibility there. This rigid sticking to 4-2-3-1, even if we haven't got the players to execute it, does seem rather bizarre. I think a lot of people are kind of stating the same as well, looking at old managers, old coaches, analysts, former players. A lot of people are talking about, the need for Rangers to go to a flat 3 in midfield and the 4-2-3-1 not actually working, which I think is very telling indeed. His substitutions as well, at times don't make any sense. He either leaves them way too late until they're ineffective, or the changes he makes leave you sitting there going, why have you taken him off when he was playing worse? And you could have switched. I mean, take the example on Thursday night. He leaves Václav Černý on the pitch, who was absolute garbage on Thursday night, and takes, you know, and doesn't bring McCausland on the right. You know, it didn't make a lot of sense to me to leave Černý on that pitch. You know, when the only change was obviously Tom Lawrence. You know, why not bring McCausland on that right hand side? Also, Tom Lawrence comes off, and he brings on Kieran Dowell, who to me can't tackle, can't shoot, can't cross, can't pass, can't do a lot, and isn't a very good footballer. You know, there for me, you would what I would say you kind of look at a change there. You look at, you know, perhaps a formation change there. There's a whole host of things, you know, that you could have done there, but it just at times you sit there and you genuinely think, why is he doing that for? And this continually is playing players in their wrong positions, playing players out of position. You know, when you've got a player who is supremely talented in a particular position, use him there, play him there. As well, you know, the fact that he constantly he constantly goes against what he says himself. He contradicts himself. You know, he talks about giving youth a chance. He's never done it. He says that Tavernier will not play every minute of every game this season. Well, yes, obviously Thursday night he was hooked off because he was shit. But the rest of the time, he's played pretty much every minute of every single game, despite the fact we have Dujon Sterling, who we've just given a new contract to, who is a natural right back. And obviously, Norisheyu Casanwejo, who again is a natural right back, who is on loan, yet we're not playing him. I mean, it just, to me, beggars belief. It really does. So, you know, I think Big Jack is, you know, very right in this interview in what he says, that, you know, we needed a different approach, a different way of playing. And I think it's not just against, you know, against a team like Lyon, but, you know, against all top teams and all teams that are performing better than us. I mean, as much as it pains me to say it, even that lot across the city who are better than us at this moment in time, you know, go to a flat three, match up with them. I mean, I personally would take out the 10. I don't think the 10 works. I don't think even with Bayrami and Hadji, we've got anyone who is, you know, I just don't like that formation. I would rather see us go to a flat three, match up against some of these teams, keep Bayrami on the left, McCausland on the right. I don't think we've got at the moment, with Matondo being out, Cortez being out, us not really having an out-and-out right winger, have the talent to play with those wingers at this moment in time. So, you know, I would go with that 4-3-3 formation. You know, the width can come from Casanwejo and Hiefte on the wide outside. Barron and Raskin there. Barron plays the 6 role because we haven't got one. Raskin as the 8 goes box to box. You know, Diomande not as a 10, more as, you know, more advanced to that 3. You know, push Diomande further up the pitch. Allow him to go and do what he does best, is influence the game in attacking areas. When Diomande is pushed deep, you know, he isn't as effective because, you know, the key things in his game are skipping past players, creating space, passing the ball, threading the ball through, you know, looking for a killer pass. That's his strength. And when he's getting the ball off the back 4, off Barron deep in our own half, he can't go and affect the attack. Where he's most effective is when he's affecting the attack. Bayrami and McCausland wide. And I want to see, you know, this is just for Sunday, really. I mean, I think, you know, we're stuck with serial debtors. The guy is just not good enough, but we are stuck with him because there is no one else. Hamza Rigman up front, I think, to give him a run out, you know, in that 4-3-3 formation. I also think that 4-3-3 provides you some flexibility as well, you know, and a little bit of forward motion, a little bit of fluidity in the attack. I think, you know, one thing that, if you look at teams that are successful all over Europe, you know, if you look at Liverpool currently, you know, they don't play with an out-and-out 9. You know, if you look at their front 3 of Diaz, Jota and Stala, you know, that's a 3 that rotate, that move around, that don't kind of stay to a traditional wide left, wide right, centre forward. And even when they put in there the likes, obviously, of Cody Gakpo, again, you know, there's that fluidity to it. Arsenal as well, very much the same, no out-and-out 9. So I think, you know, that is something as well that, you know, having that fluidity in attack can cause problems. So I would love to see Rangers take a different approach to things, take a more fluid approach to things, and develop a bit of a style of football. At the moment, there is literally no style to this team at all. And as I've said in previous times, that's worrying, considering, you know, that Aberdeen have got a style already after a very, very short, you know, space of time with Thielen. And obviously, I think it's Gray, who's the Hibs manager. So have they. I'm not saying that I want us to copy them. I'm just saying that, it is interesting, isn't it, that they can get a shape and a formation. But looking ahead to this weekend's fixtures, here are the games this weekend. St Mirren at home to Dundee United, Dundee at home to Kilmarnock, Hibs at home to Motherwell, Ross County at home to Celtic, Aberdeen v Hearts, which in the past would have been a clash of two teams going for third, really. But given Hearts' dreadful start to the season, that could end up anything. It really could. And Rangers St Johnstone at the 8 o'clock kickoff. Obviously, St Johnstone do have a new manager. Simo Valakari is their new manager. Be interested to see if there is any new manager bounce on Sunday, especially given the fact they were absolutely taken to the cleaners by Celtic last weekend. So I've been looking through those fixtures. I mean, St Mirren Dundee United, I got that down as a draw. I think that start end was a draw. Dundee United have come up. They've done really well this season since coming back up. St Mirren have looked strong as well, but I just can't see anything other than a draw there. Dundee v Kilmarnock. I just think that Kilmarnock's bad luck and bad form can't last forever. I'm not really that impressed with Dundee, so I think that'll be a Kilmarnock away win. Hibs Motherwell, look, as well as Hibs played against us, last weekend, Motherwell are in form at the moment. I think Motherwell will take that game. Ross County Celtic, look, guys, as much as I would love Ross County to pull off the shock of the century or to pull off a shock like they did against us, I just can't see anything other than an absolute cricket score for Celtic in that game. I can even see Celtic hitting double figures in that game. I really can. That's how bad Ross County are at the moment. Aberdeen Hearts, I think Aberdeen will win again. I really do think they'll go 7. They'll win again. And the Aberdeen Celtic game that comes up after the international break will be absolutely massive. Rangers St Johnstone, I'll talk more about that. I do think we'll win the game because I do think St Johnstone are particularly shit. But there we go. The table as it stands going into this weekend, obviously Celtic top on 18 with a vastly superior goal difference to Aberdeen in second, who have 6 from 6 as well with 18. Rangers 5 points behind the top 2 in third, showing how important it is that we continue to win every single game between now and the next Old Firm. Motherwell in 4th, Dundee in 5th, St Mirren in 6th. That Dundee St Mirren are clashed. 5th and 6th. Ross County in 7th. I think more how the fact that everyone else is equally as bad. I mean, if you look beyond St Mirren, Ross County, Dundee, Hibs, St Johnstone have only won 1 game, and Killie and Hearts yet to win this season, which is absolutely dreadful. So, I think realistically, the table as it is, this is a game that we do need to be winning. I mean, St Johnstone especially, 1 win, 1 draw, 5 defeats. I mean, that is pretty poor so far. And I know you get a new manager bounce, but realistically, there should be more than enough talent, even in a team that's been very much bowed during the week to come back, to bounce back and get the victory. Right, guys, let me know your predictions for this weekend. Obviously, let me know if you see any shocks happening this weekend in the SPL. Thank you for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation, guys. As always, please smash the like on the way out, hit the sub, drop a comment, all those good things, please. And remember always, we are the people.